You're about to turn 18 and the first thing you do to celebrate it is opening an OF account at 12:01 a.m. Lil Tay, are you okay? Hi, I'm Maria Paula Bermeo, clinical psychologist, and on this channel we talk about various topics and we analyze them from a psychological point of view, so if you're interested, please keep on watching. Before starting this video, I want to remind you that I give in-person and online therapy, so if you need a consultation, please feel free to reach me out on my social media, my phone number, my email, all of them will be listed down below in the description box as well. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, it will help me out a lot, and if there is a specific topic that you would like me to talk about, leave it in the comments down below, or feel free to DM me on my Instagram. I'm always open to suggestions and I love interacting with you all. I'm not gonna lie, I'm aware of who Lil Tay is. I've known it for maybe 2 years already thanks to social media, but if you're not familiar with this girl, get ready because there's a lot to dissect today. Claire Eileen Key Hope, born in July 29th, 2007, is a Canadian social media personality better known as Lil Tay. What roasted her to fame was a bunch of outrageous videos of her flaunting her wealth, saying tons of slurs and cursing words when she was just 9 years old.
All y'all broke ass haters, y'all ain't doing it like Lil Tay. This is why all y'all fucking haters hate me, bitch. This shit cost me $200,000. I'm only 9 years old. I ain't got no license, but I still drive this sports car, bitch. Your favorite rapper ain't even doing it like Lil Tay.
She got viral, so much so that she even got to collab with popular and just as controversial influencers as Jake Paul, for example. She dropped some songs here and there with music videos. Media outlets were interviewing her, giving the child even more visibility. Of course, such a climb to fame came with a plethora of controversies. First, she was a 9-year-old girl wilding on social media. Who gave her so much access to the internet? Who was filming her and posting it on socials? Who was encouraging that behavior? Who was profiting from the kid? Who thought it was a good idea to show off her or her family's alleged wealth online, knowing there could be creeps watching that could have tried to rob her or something similar? And most importantly, where were her parents? People started questioning all of these things, and as the social media world works, there is always someone that will put their detective cap on, and they found out many things about Lil Tay and her home. It is evident that her mom, Angela Tian, was more than okay with her daughter acting erratic on the web. She was taking her to interviews and sitting next to her, looking very happy and satisfied, which is already concerning. Parents are supposed to guide the children. They are meant to be that voice of common sense in their lives, the ones that keep their kids down to earth, right? But in this case, it seems that Angela probably has practiced a way too permissive parenting style, because not only she has allowed her daughter to be such a public character, but she allegedly has let her oldest son guide her youngest child to do so, manage her accounts, build that entire problematic persona, and expose it online. In May, several videos went viral apparently showing Tay's teenage brother, Jason Tian, feeding her lines, supporting concerns she was being used by her family to stir drama and make money. Her mother, Angela Tian, a Vancouver real estate agent, was also reportedly fired for using her boss's car in rental apartments as backdrops and props in her videos. So not only her mother allowed her children to be vulgar on social media and have that digital print following them forever, but she was okay with her kids acting erratic and risking her own job. That again shows that she hasn't been parenting in the most optimal way, because it looks as if there weren't boundaries boundaries at home, which could also signal to a lack of maturity from her part, or maybe even narcissistic and sadistic tendencies, because I reiterate, she hasn't shown any sign of concern with her child having such a permanent digital print online. Yes, it could have brought money to the household, but that doesn't make things any better, because why was a 9-year-old the breadwinner? That's a dysfunctional family dynamic, actually. I also want to touch on the topic of the brother telling her what to say and how to act.
Lil Tay be popping on YouTube right now.
You gotta be like more ignorant. You have to be like, oh, Lil Tay out here. Wait, what did he say?
You still irrelevant like I said last time.
By the time he came up with the brilliant idea of putting her little sister online, he was just a teen, impulsive, rebellious, having the urge to do dumb stuff. But that's why there has to be an adult to balance all that madness out. And the fact that her mom went with it as well. Seriously, kids without a parental figure that is an actual authority and mentor have no break, which could lead them to do stuff that could harm them. Sure, Claire and Jason haven't been physically injured, but they have a not so good Margolind that after almost a decade keeps haunting them, that could haunt them for longer, which, as we'll see later, is emotionally damaging. Now, where's the dad, you may ask? His name is Christopher J. Hope, and from what I researched, he's like a businessman, well linked in the music industry, but that hasn't exempted him from the drama. Now, he's not Jason's dad, we don't know about him. Christopher is Lil Tay's father only, but he and Angela are divorced, and Claire lives with her mother. Over the years, Christopher has expressed his concern about her daughter being exposed in such a way on the internet, because he doesn't believe it is okay that she is acting erratically online. Nonetheless, it seems that despite him legally having half of Lil Tay's custody, he doesn't have much say in his daughter's life, as allegedly he hasn't been that present. Angela has said it is because he hasn't shown any desire to be so, but he argues Angela has forbidden her daughter from having contact with her dad. How do we know about that? Well, because in 2018, Christopher sued Angela after she allegedly moved to Los Angeles with Jason and Lil Tay without Christopher's permission, and Angela basically said, well, I don't need your permission because you've never been present in my daughter's life, and now you just want to because she's famous. And Christopher said, that's because you wouldn't let me, and as a proof of that, you've just taken her out of the country arbitrarily to get her farther away from me. A mess that for a child creates a severe emotional instability. Despite that, I don't believe he's the bigger person in this custody controversy, as apparently it looks as if both Christopher and Angela Tian have wanted to put their daughter in the public eye and profit out of her. Behind the scenes, her father, Christopher Hope, manager Sang, and a music promoter named Chris Jones wanted her to focus on her music career and build out a presence on TikTok, while her mother and brother Jason were focused on cultivating her brash persona. And you could argue that a music career could be better than acting as a deranged kid, but I wouldn't necessarily agree. We know the music industry is very problematic as well. It is very abusive. It submits artists to dangerous situations as substance abuse, SA, EDs, body dysmorphia, anxiety, depression, BPD, PTSD, etc., aside from the potential physiological difficulties that could also appear sooner or later. Her dad, being involved in said world, is aware of that for sure. Nonetheless, he has wanted to get her daughter into that toxicity to get money. Obviously, the influencer world is not that different, so Angela and her son have put Lil Tay in a risky situation, just as Christopher wanted to, allegedly. Anyway, this just enhances the theory of a dysfunctional family dynamic, because both parents and an older brother have made the youngest individual in the family a gold mine, attributing her a role role that doesn't correspond to her, the provider. They all have put a huge amount of weight on a kid's shoulders to fulfill their desires of being wealthy and are increasing their net worth. They all have put an insane amount of pressure and stress on her due to the constant fights to be able to profit from her, and even when the child doesn't fully understand it in their first life stages, it does trigger the development of an unbalanced personality and mindset as they grow up. And Lil Tay or Claire is a good example of it, because this messy lifestyle has caused her to normalize chaos, with both of her parents fighting over her custody, over her money, with an irresponsible mother who put her job at risk to make her daughter famous instead of putting limits in the household, with a dad that wanted to use her as a money-making machine, being conditioned to and congratulated for playing a polemic character, with an older brother exploiting her, manipulating her to play a character whenever he wanted to. She has grown up in an environment that hasn't contributed for the foundation of a healthy emotional development, because no one in her family motivated her to explore activities that she could have liked. No one encouraged her to discover actual talents she might have had. No one told her she was beautiful nor worthy for her kindness, her sweetness, her manners. She was reduced to money and controversy by her own family. She has learned that if she's not problematic to bring money to the household, then she's not worthy. That might be why she has been keeping up with this Lil Tay persona for so long, accused her dad of being abusive when the judges sided with him to prohibit her mom to post her on the internet, and opened a GoFundMe so people would donate money, and then claimed that those abuse allegations were made by a hacker. After that, she disappeared from the face of the earth for 3 years, again because she legally couldn't be online. But then she pulled a stunt with her brother, faking their death allegedly, and also blamed hackers and her own parents for that, maybe to remain relevant. And whether if it was her along with her brother or her parents the ones that invented that story, it shows a huge psychological numbness from whoever did that, which of course is possible due to how problematic these people are, as no sane individual would fake their own death or the death of their own children, the ones they brought into this world. That's despicable and ruthless, and it exposes even more how troubled of a family is this one and why Lil Tay acts in such a way. Anyway, after that hoax on September 2024, her family announced via her account that she had to overcome surgery to remove a heart tumor, which on itself can induce stress, anguish, tension, depression, or enhance pre-existing emotional discomfort, which could have been Claire's case. However, many netizens said that it was just another stunt, which makes sense because if they were capable of faking one's death, a tumor is almost nothing. But I hope it wasn't a lie, because once again, it will show how sadistic, narcissistic, and how willing to do anything to make money these people are, which is concerning. I do gotta say that the suspicions are valid though, as on the following month she came back on socials as a full-time influencer, bashed her dad once again for silencing her, and also threw shade at her haters. But the story doesn't end there. I need to reiterate that her life has been notoriously tumultuous. The girl has gone through a lot, so it kind of doesn't shock me that for her 18th birthday, she decided to celebrate by opening an OF account, which she actually teased before her actual birthday.
Y'all already know what the fuck going on. Lil Tay's dropping the youngest link of the century. Mark your calendars tomorrow, 3 p.m. EST. And nobody, including my family, including the grown-ass haters, is gonna stop me. You know why? Lil Tay rich and finna get richer, bitch. Y'all wanna know the real reason that I'm dropping the link on my 18th birthday? I'm broke as shit. This is the same fit that, this is the only fit. This is the only fit that I own. It's literally the same fit that I was wearing on Rakai's stream. That was months ago. That's why I haven't been posting content. I'm literally broke. Just let a girl get her bag.
She wanted this to be the comeback of Lil Tay. She was publicizing it whenever and wherever she could, with whoever she could. I mean, she did a live stream with her brother, acting as if he didn't know about the link. She put it in her bio as a badge of honor because she was about to become the youngest person on OF. She shared an alleged DM with Bunny Blue in which they were chatting about making content together. Yes, with that Bunny Blue, the woman that did the 1000 men in 12 hours challenge, the ill woman that actually got banned from OF because even they thought she was crossing the line with her over-the-top pornographic content, and Lil Tay was even wondering if she should join her for content, for a stunt, just for the sake of selling her own pornographic content. But she didn't just use OF individuals or former individuals. She even tagged conservative influencers so they could vote on if she should have dropped the link or not. It wasn't because she wanted them to give her some advice so she could open her eyes and back down from it. It was still because she wanted them to talk about it so this event could get to a broader audience. Of course, most of them ignored her to not bring more attention to it, but just Pearly Things reply with, "You may as well do it because I don't think you have much else to offer to the world." That woman is always bashing other women, so her reply doesn't surprise me, but it is still sad to see how others aside from her family are also reducing Lil Tay to chaos. Michael Knowles, on the other hand, said, "Since you asked my opinion whether or not the question is sincere, I'll give it. Don't. No amount of money is worth your dignity and you'll regret it immensely if you do." And he's right. It doesn't matter if you agree with his politics or not. He's saying the obvious. Selling your body, your nudity, the most intimate side of yourself is not worth it. Actually, it could mess up with your mind severely, and in Claire's case, this could disrupt her psyche even more than it already is. Because her willing to do anything to remain on the spotlight shows her constant desire of approval. She needs to get viral, she needs people to talk about her, she needs the attention, and she's trying to get all of those things by being messy because she's been basically raised to do that. She has learned that if she's not erratic, no one will listen to her, no one will turn to her, which exposes a broken self-esteem and personality. But most importantly and concerning, she's still looking for the conditional love and appreciation from her family by bringing money into the household, even if it takes her to destroy the last bit of dignity she has, which shows that nothing has changed over the years and her family dynamics are still very much dysfunctional, allegedly. It shows that her mother and her brother are still so selfish, narcissistic, exploitative, that they don't care if Claire is humiliating and damaging herself just for the sake of feeding their pockets. You may tell me that her dad is an ill-minded person as well. He does have a huge part on who Lil Tay is today. For sure, he's being neglectful, but got interested in having a relationship with his daughter once he saw she could generate some sort of monetary income, allegedly, which obviously could have reinforced the idea on Claire's mind that she's only valuable if she's a breadwinner, whatever it takes to be so. But it seems as if he lost contact with her again after tons of legal battles, so there is only so much that he can do, especially if the girl has expressed she doesn't want to talk to him at all. Days after her OF debut, Lil Tay's father says she's an adult who can make her own decisions in life. That's accurate, to be fair. As your kids grow, it's just natural to let them go and allow them to take their own decisions. It is not ideal for them to be tied to you forever. Nonetheless, if you want them to grow in the most optimal way so they can become healthy, functional, rational adults, you let them be kids, you let them be teens, you accompany and guide them during those stages, you act as a role model, as as a light. You support them, yes, but you also set boundaries. You allow them to explore, but you also put a limit so they don't get involved in dangerous situations. But you don't abandon them and come back once you perceive them as a milking cow. You don't try to introduce them to the toxic and abusive celebrity industry, nor you push them to play a problematic character online for rage bait, to be linked with controversial influencers, to flaunt an apparent wealth online for potential criminals to see, to make up ill stories as pretending they passed. You don't base their worth on how chaotic they are or on how much money they bring to the household. That is not the role for a child to have. That's meant for the adults that are supposed to be mature enough to assume the responsibility of leading a household. Otherwise, don't bring kids into this world because you'll just cause them plenty of issues, physical, psychological, maybe economical, and they do not deserve that. They don't deserve to have so much stress, so much repressed, unhealed trauma that will cause them to be erratic, problematic, over the top, exhibitionist adults that are happy with doing pornographic content on those blue pages. On a different page, sort of, I do want to talk about the people defending Lil Tay for opening her OF account, claiming it is something empowering. I'm sorry, but are you guys insane? What's empowering about it? This is a human being that has allegedly grown in a dysfunctional household with a mostly absent, neglectful dad, an immature, irresponsible mother, a controlling, selfish brother. This is a young woman that has been exploited by her entire family for almost a decade for the sake of virality and money. She's a young girl that grew up assuming a role that didn't correspond to her, the provider, which puts an unnecessary weight on a child's shoulder. And all of that is why today she is exploiting herself by opening an OF profile. It is not because she's an independent girl boss. It is because she has a wounded self-esteem, because damaging herself to profit out from it is the only pattern she knows, as it is the one her family conditioned and encouraged her to follow. And also, it is not empowering because if anything, she's motivating the exploitation, objectification, and hypersexualization of women's body through pornography, a type of content that triggers mental illnesses to the ones producing it and the ones consuming it. And now that we touch on the consumers, I too want to call out those that have subscribed to Lil Tay's OF, because that's another issue. On one hand, this is another expose of how porn is just way too normalized these days. Many individuals have trouble establishing relationships because they lack from social skills. They spend way too much time on their cell phones. They just live in their own bubbles because of how individualistic culture is nowadays. So of course, their sexual life is basically non-existent and they turn to porn in hopes to emulate real life sexuality, which is not functional because actually porn creates a distorted perspective on what to expect from these encounters, on affection, relationships. It encourages unrealistic expectations that will continue to harm one's connection with other human beings, but also could damage someone's self-esteem, could be the starting point of sexual dysfunctions, could generate a severe porn addiction because getting immune to one type of it could cause the urge to consume more aggressive material, which could even force the addict to get involved in tricky, dangerous situations to get more violent content, could disrupt their sleep, which messes up with hormones, with their brain and its neurons, and that could trigger plenty of other mental illnesses. And at the same time, it could cause them to lose tons of money, to accumulate massive debts for the sake of subscribing to random people on OF, to see which one of them gives them the madness they are waiting for, and then being hit with the reality of not having money to pay their credit card bills, basic services as electricity, food, nor maintain their softs to those OF people. Well, that could trigger more things as severe emotional outbursts, self-harm, harm to others, even suicidal thoughts, actual attempts to do so, or being successful at it. As a mental health provider that has seen a lot of stuff happening as a consequence of corn consumption, I can assure you the list of risks is wide, and that is why I try to bring awareness to these topics to prevent someone from falling into these dangerous traps. On the other hand though, talking directly about this whole Lil Tay OF situation, it's alarming to know she won $1 million in the first 3 hours of having her account there. That signals to a broader issue, which is the amount of pedos that are there waiting for these young people, because it could be boys as well, to exploit themselves to find pleasure, which is mentally ill because no sane adult finds a child attractive. You may argue with the fact that she opened her account as an 18-year-old, which makes her an adult. Relatively, yes, but do you realize she was teasing that link as a 17-year-old, meaning that plenty of those individuals were behind their computers, their cell phones, rubbing their hands, waiting for a teenager to post explicit pictures. And just as a reminder, Lil Tay made her account public at 0001. Do you think she could have filmed videos and take tons of pictures in 1 minute? No, the content she liberated most likely was taken when she was still 17, basically child porn, which plenty have been willing to get to fulfill their ill fantasies. And even if she was able to do all of that in 1 minute, creeps wanted to consume the explicit content of someone that was 17 just a minute ago, which is pedo behavior. Also, if you see the financial report Lil Tay herself posted on IG, $511,000 came from subscriptions alone, which I just said is sick, but did you realize something else? $486,000 came from messages. Plenty of perverted people paid more money to receive sexual messages from someone that was 17 1 minute ago. What is this? It is already bad that a girl and her family are okay with creating explicit content out of this teen to feed their wallets and simultaneously feed creeps and their perverted desires with her. But it's just as depraved and wicked that people have been sexually attracted to this young woman for so long, since she was a child, and have been waiting for her to be available in a sexual way to finally take the chance and get satisfied. Believe me, if she would have done this earlier on, they would have taken it anyway. That is why they did it as soon as they had the opportunity. And finally, from my understanding, OF has a lot of filters before opening a profile. They check tons of information, including one's ID, so that means they could have done something illegal by letting a teenager have an account. They are contributing to the exploitation of kids, they are encouraging pedophilia, they are encouraging current addiction and prostitution for the sake of money, which destroys everyone involved physically, spiritually, socially, emotionally, and Lil Tay is a clear example of it. Is there something you learned from this video or something that you would like to add to the conversation? Leave it in the comments down below. Also, don't forget to like and share this video with someone that may find this useful, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you never miss out for more interesting psychology content. Thanks for watching.